So I will spend a minute just tuning into the body first. And as I do that, it's nice just to settle the mind. And then start having a thinking about the physical alignment of the body. So checking where your weight is in the feet. Are you balanced left and right, forwards and backwards? Making sure there's a slight bend in the knees and that the knees haven't collapsed on the inside, that they're open and over the toes. Making sure the feet are pointing forwards. Making sure the hips are level, so you're not tilting one side or the other side, forwards or backwards. Lower back is flat, so the coccyx is pointing down to the ground, and then the fold in the front of the hips, the quad can fold in so that you can sink down, dropping the hips down a couple of inches and feeling how with the open hips you get more of a connection down into the ground. Then thinking up into the rear crown and just lifting that up and back slightly. And that will naturally mean that the chin is slightly tucked in. Then keeping that feeling of elongation up into the rear crown, just letting everything in the trunk of your body just fall down and relax down into the hip cradle. Just play with the hips a little bit, just let the coccyx come down. Yeah. And making sure the shoulders are nice and relaxed. Hands by the sides. So don't let the shoulders fall in. Just open out across the chest and shoulder blades. Yeah, so the hands are at the sides, not in the front. Yeah, a little bit more length up through the vertebrae. Yeah. And then just relax everything in the body. Just finding the center of the body and just allowing a slight squeeze and float up inside, just very slight. And then just using gravity, just letting that go again, and letting the whole body relax even more. And again, just releasing the whole body. Careful you're not collapsing, just relaxing, not collapsing. Yeah. So then once you've kind of let go of a good 5 or 10% of any tension through the body, just thinking down into the tips of the fingers. So feel the pad of each of your fingers. Make sure you can tune into that using your proprioception. And then just allowing a very gentle stretch into the very tips of each of the fingers. And an opening up of the palm. And allowing the mind to settle on the center. The tongue is resting on the top of the mouth, behind the front teeth. So always moving from the center, through the shoulders, through the elbows, through the hands, Hands up and down. Shoulders roll forwards, that moves the elbows. Elbows move the hands. The hands come around in front, palms facing in. Don't lose the connection into the fingertips. And with the elbows pointing down, we just bring the hands up to shoulder height. A little bit more of a stretch into the tips of the fingers. And we bring the center down by having a little bit more of a bend in the knees. Center brings the shoulders down. Shoulders bring the elbows down. Elbows bring the hands down. For the last inch, as the hands push down, we pull up into the top of the head and elongate the spine. Then we allow the center to come back up, undoing the bend in the knees, but not locking the knees. Relax the shoulders down, relax the elbows, relax the wrists. Then open across the chest and shoulder blades so the shoulders can come back. That pulls the elbows back and that rotates the palms back in to face into the body. So moving from the center through the shoulders, through the elbows, through the hands, not losing the sensation in the tips of the fingers. Up to shoulder height with the elbows pointing down. So don't allow the elbows to open up, keep them down. A little bit more of a stretch into the tips of the fingers. Center comes down with a bend in the knees. That pulls the shoulders down. Shoulders relax, elbows relax. Hands relax, come down to about tabletop height. Last inch, push down into the hands, up into the top of the head, elongate the spine. Don't kink the wrists here, keep it nice and smooth. Yeah, so maybe come a little bit further out away from the body. Great. Then bring the center back up, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the elbows, relaxing the hands. Open the chest and shoulder blades, shoulders roll back, that pulls the elbows back, and the hands back. So we always want an equal and opposite force, and we want to use our anchor down into the ground. So feel the feet pressing onto the ground, and then allow that feeling to go into the ground. So let that penetrate down at least a foot into the ground. Roll forwards. Now, when we float our hands up, we want to have an equal and opposite force pushing down into the ground. So instead of just thinking about pushing the arms up, think more about sinking down into the ground. As you sink down into the ground, you get that equal and opposite force that comes up through the body, out through the shoulder, out through the elbow, out through the wrist, out through the tips of the fingers, and then even past the fingers slightly. Equally, we want to be coming up into the rear crown as well here. Then, as if we can just release that feeling in a controlled way, we sink down. Then finding the ground again, push down into the ground, equal and opposite force up into the top of the head. This time we're sending the force down into the palms with that force that comes up through the body. Releasing that feeling. Brings our center up and relax our arms down. Then open the center, chest and shoulder blades, shoulders come back. Elbows come back. Palms turn in. Find the ground. Think below the ground. Equal and opposite force down to the ground, up to the top of the head. So you get this line coming, vertical line through the body from below the ground and above the top of the head. And then that's kind of almost like an elevator shaft that we just send this signal down and up at the same time. And you just connect the arms to that signal. And be as relaxed as you can. And then that signal, we kind of use the thought of float up. Just send that kind of feeling or thought into the tips of the fingers to float, and then extend out past the tips of the fingers, and then release everything. Sinking down, finding the ground again, back up to the top of the head, same feeling, get that elevator shaft feeling through the body, connect that to the hands, And for that last inch, pressing down into the palms. And back up again. So the more relaxed your body is, the more you can have an awareness and feel the sensations that are kind of driving this. You want to be tuning into these sensations. Not just moving the body around, really listening to what's happening on the inside. And it's an invitation to play with all the sensations, see what works, what doesn't work, what makes it feel lighter and easier, what makes it feel more energized, what makes it feel less energized or harder, what makes it feel like your hands are moving through syrup or floating through air.